The world won't understand you. Hey, but it's okay. Said the world won't understand you. Cause I made you in my own way. Said the world won't understand you. Cause I made you different.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 69 of In a Good Way podcast. Today's special guest is Federica Calandra. She is a spiritual coach and intuitive channeler. So thank you very much, Federica, for being here. It's an honor.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll get into what an intuitive channeler is in a little bit. For those that don't know, I'll give you a chance to explain that. But first, I always like to start in the beginning. Did you as a kid already start experiencing things? What was it like? Were people supportive of you? So let's start from the beginning. When you were little, were you already experiencing spiritual things, or?
Actually, that's a very good point. So this is something that I realized only now, meaning that I knew that I felt things, I saw things, I felt presences actually in the room. When the kids say, "Oh, but there is somebody," I felt the steps in the room. I felt somebody over me. That is real. And I realized that I felt that all the time. So I felt, for example, a presence over me, somebody, I don't want to say touching me, but almost, or like steps, like physical noise in the room, or like there. And then I would say to my parents, my mother, like, there is somebody, I'm sure. No, what parents say, like, that it's not true. And also now I also understand that I heard actually a UFO ships outside all the time.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, when I was kid, like I heard them outside the house all the time. And I heard literally the humming voice. Those that have heard that knows what I'm talking about. So the very low humming voice, and it was. I just intuitively knew what it was. It's not like a kid knows, about UFOs, but I just knew. But then I was like, no, it cannot be. So I just disregarded it. And now I look back and I know that all those things were real.
Wow.
And like every kid, kids are very intuitive and they're very in touch with their own intuition. It's real. So what they say, what they feel, and then of course the adult, with the rational minds comes there and says, no, you just imagine that, it's not real, it's not true. And then the kid just says, okay, then it's not real, and grows up believing that it wasn't real. But then after, when you actually awaken to this reality, you're like, oh, but that was actually real, those things. And this is the realization that I had recently. Also, when you're sick, when you were a kid and you were sick, I literally felt like a presence over me, or like speaking to me, or like, I remember a blow over my face, when I was, very hot, for the fever. And now I put all these things together and they don't make sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And where did you grow up at? Like, what you're right now you're in Rome,
yes,
right? Or Italy, or
in Milan, in Italy.
Milan,
Yeah.
okay.
And I grew up here. Yeah. Where I grew up.
Oh, okay. Is it more like a countryside, or it's a populated area, or how?
It's a city. It's a city.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And they still visited you right there in the city.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I must say that as soon as I leave the city, I go in a less populated area. Like, they show up very strongly, like, because here I know that if I hear the noise, I'm always connected, like many people. I know that if I went out, I wouldn't see them. But in less populated area, it has happened. Like they really come very strongly, and I know that if I would come out of the window, I would see them. They show up, and they're much more present. They do more things, more games of the lights also in the room when you're away from the city. That's. But they're always connected and always here, also in the city.
Wow, very interesting. No, thank you for bringing all that up, because I know we could talk about that now. So I wasn't even planning to talk about that, but perfect. We'll come back to that. So aside from hearing those noises and knowing they were there as a child, was your intuition already pretty strong? Like, did you ever have precognitive dreams when you were little? Were you dreaming like things that would happen, or?
So that I must say no, but I've had recurring dreams my whole life. Also growing up with an adolescent, like recurring dreams, and only now I understood why. Because those were dreams from past lives, from things that you still have to clear, to understand, to learn, you know. And so they just come into your life. And now that I've understood a lot of things, I have kind of unlocked those dreams. And you know what? When you learn them, when you understand what they mean, what understand meaning, and when you change, when you heal the thing that they want to show you, they change. Those dreams are not recurrent anymore. They change and they show you that you've healed in that you've figured it out. And some dreams regarding specific past types have disappeared completely. It's kind of like, I figured it out. I don't need to figure it out anymore. They're just gone. So I would say dreams more about the things that were in my subconscious. I've also dreamt a lot, I must say, about disasters, you know, like being an explosion or like crazy things happening. But, you know, I think all of us have, because we live in these crazy times.
No, but let me ask you about that, because that was one of the first things that started happening to me is I would dream of a disaster. And then later on, it'd be on the news. So I would dream about it like, like in another part of the world. So for you, you were dreaming it from past lives or stuff like that, or other?
No, for me, I never had anything like that. So there was always a reason, always a message. So I believe it was for me either to be prepared to really big things happening in my life, or kind of like to bring me over this journey. But it was never like I dreamed this and this happens. That was never my thing. Like I do have a strong feeling about things that are going to happen, but I never know when, where, you know, the details. Like the timing, it's always like something you can never know because it can always change.
And real quick before I forget, did your mom? So you said you grew up just with your mom, or both?
Well, yeah, my parents were separated, so mainly, yeah, with my mom and my sister. Yeah.
So to your knowledge, did your mom have any connection already? Was she having any kind of?
No, no, my family was completely atheist. I was not even baptized. I never went to religious classes. I literally knew nothing. Like, I mean, I grew up like I barely knew that Jesus existed, and only because my grandmother told me, like, you know, like she was religious and stuff. But my parents were absolutely not religious. They didn't want me to grow religious. So I knew zero. Like everything I know, it comes after my awakening. All the things that I discovered and that I deep dive on my own, and I learned myself, right? But really growing up, there has never been any spiritual concept, spiritual connection, nothing. And I didn't even believe in anything, honestly. I didn't believe in, you know, the science and what.
So you were I believe in the science kind of person.
We could say that, yeah.
That's interesting.
But here's the thing, because I was always wondering, I was always questioning things, right? So because I didn't know anything about the religion and the spiritual world, you know, but I wanted to know. So what did I do? I learned and studied on my own. You know, all the philosophers, you know, what did they say? And I was never satisfied. Like nobody really told me what my soul wanted to know. So I was searching and looking. So, for example, when I was in high school, my favorite subject was philosophy, because philosophy is about questioning your reality, right? So I studied all the philosophers, and I was like, you know, who is there? You know, there must be somebody that knows the truth. There was nobody. Like I never found it, and I only felt like I found finally the answers with my awakening recently, like last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 1 year and a half, end of 2021, and really ramping up in 2022, I would say. Yeah.
Wow.
But that was the first time I got real answers, because, you know, I had experiences. I could understand things. I could look back and see, you know, oh, you know, that was it. And then I found the real answers, and, you know, yeah.
Very interesting. So there really is like a huge spiritual awakening going on, right? Because like that was my thing, right? So for me, I guess I was already kind of born with it, but at some point you shut it off because you can't find other people, right? So it's like you're kind of waiting. You're waiting around to like, oh, you know, almost like a kid in a playground, and you're waiting, hey, who's gonna come play with me? Like I'm just waiting, like, you know.
It's true.
Yeah, like on a swing, just swinging your leg, like, wow, just waiting for someone to show up, right? So it's really interesting to hear that. So
It's so true.
I know you said there weren't any philosophers that kind of showed you the truth. So there weren't any, because I was gonna ask you that if there was at least one that jumped out at you that was close.
No, no, I mean, no, absolutely. I mean, I love them. Honestly, it's kind of like each one of them brought a piece of the truth. Here's the thing. It's kind of like religions, you know, like each one of them, of course, religious, there is something behind, but it's kind of like so few, and then there is so much bullshit over it. And that what I was looking for was something completely real, completely true, like the truth. And each one of them brought a piece to the puzzle. And so what I was looking for was the puzzle. And so I had to put all those pieces together, like by studying Plato, you know, Aristotle, whatever, like starting from really the Greeks and Latin philosophers, from the Germans, you know, like really all the movements, because I loved it. And if you put them all together, it's kind of like everybody says their own thing, which are kind of all true, but it's not it. It's just not it. It's not the whole thing. And so I just wasn't satisfied. And now we have the answers. Finally, the answers are coming out, and everybody has access to that. Before it was, you know, only for those that I don't know wanted to go there. Now it's for everybody.
Okay, and we'll get to that right now. But so first, let's say, okay, so now you said you had your spiritual awakening in 2021.
Okay, I would say that let's call it like Matrix Awakening 2021, meaning like, oh, we live in a fake system.
But a little before that, it was already starting to push through.
Yes, it was with COVID for me. With COVID, it was like there's something very wrong here, you know, and then it was all the mandates. I don't know what we can say in here, but the thing was like, things were so weird that you cannot just not notice it, right? And so
no, I think we could talk, because at first, you know, I had 2 videos deleted because at first, during, you know, when COVID hit, I saw how divided everybody got. So I was like, oh wow. So I said, okay, fine. Yeah. I just stopped saying stuff, and then I even got my 2 warnings from YouTube because I upload. I felt responsible. Like, you know what? I'm supposed to share, because I just shared for me what happened spiritually. I didn't say I'm a medical this, nothing. I didn't, nothing. And they still deleted it. And I was like, wow. So I saw even that felt very wrong, right? Like, okay, like that's it. Like, so there's just, this is like the truth, right? So that's probably what has happened in history. Like you said, right? They've always taught us like a certain way, and that's it. And they don't let you question and everything. So with that, I saw like it happening again. So, okay, so let's talk about, so what was the big thing that happened that caused your awakening?
Well, you know, I just looked into some topics, and I mean, everything fit together. Well, let's say at the time I was with a person that really opened my eyes, I must say. So I'm really thankful for that. It really showed me things. It really opened my eyes, and that was it. Like, and then when we saw what he was saying was actually true. Like, you know, it was so real. So then I started looking into all those topics, right? So those old conspiracy theories, this kind of stuff. And I kind of got into the loop of all the things. Oh my God, you know, this is happening. Like I felt it was true, it was real. And so that really got me into a very fear-based mentality. You know, yeah, because, you know, you don't know the truth, the spiritual truth. I didn't know anything about that. It was just, oh my God, this is my reality, this is happening, this is our destiny, you know. So of course I was scared. And so that really got me into a very anxiety, panic attacks, you know. I really couldn't believe that was happening. And that was really the trigger to my spiritual awakening, because with panic attacks, basically you just face your death. And it's kind of like you think you're dying, so you have to, like, what the fuck. And so it just ramped up everything very quickly. Really, it was like end of 2021, starting this to feel like so bad with myself, like anxiety came up. I just couldn't live with it anymore. And really everything was super, I don't know, chaotic, like, you know, in that period, a lot of people felt that. And so also there is another thing, being an empath, so feeling others people's energy and not knowing that. It's crazy because you think it's you, but it's all the collective feeling that, and you feel it even more, right? So this is for many people that are empaths. A lot of people are, and they just don't know how to handle energies because they just feel it. Of course, I've learned that also. But anyway, so with the awakening, with the panic attacks, anxiety stuff, that really led me into really stop. Like, oh my God, like I have to stop. You know, this is not okay to feel like that. So I started to look into things, you know, how to manage that and to manage anxiety and stuff. And I really found the right tools, I must say. I looked for help from some psychologists, but none of them really helped me. They just don't know, honestly, how to help you. They just give you, you remember, I think we talked about this. I think I told you, right? I had to figure it out myself because like I had to find my own method to cope with it, and then with that, so it was all together, I started to look for things because also like by opening my eyes to the truth, also the things came up. And it was, for me, it started with UFOs. So I've always, as I told you, since I was a kid, I felt them, I heard them actually, then I completely removed that thought. And now it was time to go back to the truth. And in that period, they really started visiting so much, like really every night. And that was it was an awakening for me. I just knew it was them. I just heard the noise. I felt the presence in the room. They really wanted to really wake me up, like shake me, like it's your time, And then it culminated with, I would say, out of body experience. Like I was literally like awake, and then I found myself out of my body, looking down, and there was the bed, and everything. That was the event that was like really snapped me out. Like, okay, this is real. This is not a joke. It's real because I was awake out of my body and I saw entities around me. Like, because it was, I think one entity, I think it was a spirit guide, I don't know, anyway, very white looking in front of me. And that was it, because that was it. And then after that, I booked my first psychic reading. I had no idea what those were. So I had zero knowledge about all this stuff.
Wow.
So I did the first psychic reading, and that was super enlightening. And that was also sent by the universe, I believe, because I was searching for help. Nobody could really help me. And then a friend of mine, she said, I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what's happening to you. She's a dear friend of mine. And she said, I don't know really what you're going through, but I think there is a friend of mine that can help you. So she brought me to her. She gave me the contact, and she really was a very authentic channeler. And for those that don't know what channeling is just just downloading information with your third eye from source. So basically, I just go into a very meditative state, trance state, we can say. There are different levels, and just asking a question and receive your information in your mind. And so we know that there are many that do it, not everybody might be authentic. When somebody is authentic. I don't know, you just know, because the truth has a vibration and you feel that, your soul knows. And when somebody speaks and you resonate with that, it's true. That's how, because a lot of people told me, but how do you know these things are true? How do you know that, it's happening this, it's not happening that? How do you know that this is, I don't know, I just knew. Like some things you just know, they resonate with you deeply because they're the truth. And our soul knows, and that's how you know. And so if you follow the resonance, you find the trace to the truth, and you discover what's not real, which is 70% of things, even more, that you find, and you just find the real answers. And this psychic reading was the real was the trigger to everything else, because she explained what was happening. It was my awakening. She said, this was your time. There was a clock inside you. It has gone. Now it's time for you to awaken. And that's it. And after that, I started to research so much, so many hours a day, and I really catched up with a lot of things. And then I started to have my own experiences, my own lessons to grow into all these topics. And now really my mission is to help people that go through this, because I was there as well. I've been through that. I know what it means to be completely into the matrix and not believing. So, really, because I was there, so I know how it is to believe those things. I know how dramatic it is to awaken, like literally the Matrix movie. That's it. That was it. Like, it's like, oh. I know how scary it can be. And I know this is what keeps people in their comfort zone, because it's so scary to know those truths. And I like all of us, we know a lot of people that, for example, say, if I even think about that, right, I cannot even think about it. And so they just shut off. We all know people that said that. Maybe you also said that. I also said that at the time. So I know the feeling, what it is, how scary it is, what can bring, but I also know how to get out of it and how to get into the light again and to find yourself. That was my whole journey. That brings me today where I am, to help people in this, because I've been there. I've done it.
When you're talking about getting back to the light, from where? From
From the
from
darkness.
things? No, like from things here, or you're talking about like when you go on a spiritual journey, finding your way back, or from being like in a dark place and finding your way back?
I mean that when you go through your awakening,
Oh, okay.
there is a reason why it's called the dark night of the soul. It's because it's not pretty, it's not easy,
Oh, yeah.
and it's scary. It's because you're going through something completely alone. The other people around you don't understand you, don't know what's happening to you, and you're just really going through this alone. You just search online, for answers, and you don't know what's happening. You don't know why you feel these things, and you don't know why. So and you really feel lost. So you're completely lost reading this. And with darkness, I mean that. But there is a way out that is on. It's kind of like, okay, here's the thing. If you imagine about the 5D, right? So the feeling in peace, the feeling of having found myself, my true self, my real self, right? So I know what I have to do with my life. I know who I am. Let's call it 5D, right? So between the 5D and the 3D, where everybody lives, like follow the rule, everything is fine, there is a layer in the middle. We can call it 4D. So we have the 3D where everything is, aligned. Nobody questions anything. I just live my life. I don't want to know. It's the I don't want to know state, right? It's the 3D. Then we have the 5D, which is over the clouds. But to get there are the clouds, and that is the dark night of the soul, which is the phase where you question, you open up, and you feel, and you're lost. And honestly, it's the hardest part. And it's the reason why people are afraid to go there, are afraid to know the truth, because they're afraid, they're scared for that part. And they have a reason to do it, because to be scared, it's completely understandable, because it is. And so to get to the 5D, which is when you really find yourself and you're aligned to yourself, you have to go through that uncomfortable period, the clouds, the 4D. And which is an actual dimension, like literally the 4D. It's like when you are in your thoughts, in your mind, and there are other things that you might know and see and hear. It's an actual dimension, literally. That is what I mean with the going from darkness to the light, going to the 4D to the 5D, finding yourself, but you have to go through that. Unfortunately, there is no other way around, but there's always help for all those that did it before you, because they really know what it means.
Yeah, no, but thank you. That was a beautiful way of putting it, right? Going through the clouds and all that. So I like that analogy. Yeah, and that's why I get it, because see, I know how painful it is, so I never wanted to push anyone and feel responsible. Like I never wanted anyone to be like,
Right.
well, because like me, I see when I was going through certain things, it wasn't for me, but it was like when I was trying to help people, sometimes I would see entities that they had, and I saw entities, like things that no way anyone would want to see, right? Like things from a horror movie, like things so there were all these entities that would be attached to people, but it was always the free will, right? So I just didn't want to be responsible. So I didn't want to make anyone have to battle anything. I just didn't want to be responsible. That's it. But now that all this is happening, I get, it's fine. Like, it's like the cat's out of the bag, right? Like, I don't know if you're familiar with that saying, but it's yeah. So it's fine. No, and even that, like, see how you already talked about UFO. So I know I could talk about that now, and we could go as deep as we need to. So, so is that what led you to?
Sorry,
go ahead.
I want to say one thing before we proceed to the next thing. So you said, so the free will, yeah, that's true. Now the cat is out of the bag. That's true, but still, it's always like, even though we share this information, the information will still find those that are ready for that, because there's still people that is not ready, and we still, have to respect that. And I also learned this the hard way, because I was also trying to awaken those around me, and that was very counterproductive, I can say. Because it was meant to be. It was a lesson for me to learn, but it always needs to come from them, and still they will never know about these things unless they really want to know. So
no, absolutely. I think for me more it was because I was aware, but then I think they were always trying to like really awaken me, right? But I pushed it away, right? just because how I grew up, it was different. You know, it's funny how, well, see, it's kind of, it's a hard thing for me to say free will, because for me, I was shown, you know, when I had like one of the big, you know, because I keep having these huge, like more and more and more, right? But one of the big ones, I was shown like how I pretty much planned out my life, right? So it's almost like I don't even have free will. But that's why when I hear everyone talking about free will, I'm like, oh, good for you, because I don't have free will either. Like, they keep reminding me, like I keep being reminded over and over. Like there's little
Right.
thing, there's like a little thing that they show me that always shows me like somehow which is weird, right? Because why would we, like, you know, like almost like a movie script. Why would I put like, oh, I go through this hard thing and this other hard thing and this other hard thing and this other. It's like, who does that to themselves, right? So it's that sometimes
Right.
it's like I'm telling myself like bad words, right? Like not bad words, but you know, in a joking way, like oh my, like I can't believe you would do this, right? That kind of stuff. So, but no, I know, like yeah, I definitely respect people's their own awakening, right? Like at their own pace.
Yeah.
And so I definitely don't try to force it on anyone. And yeah, I love what you said, that how when it's gonna find them no matter what. So when it's time, but I think I always try to push it away. I don't want I don't want it, because
Yeah,
it
me
feels like,
too.
yeah. Oh, you did the same?
Yeah, I mean, before, of course, like,
Yeah, because it feels like a responsibility. That's why it does feel like a job, right? But that's kind of like what we agreed. Like, oh, okay, go.
well, no, wait. Okay, no, I see what you mean. That came later, because first I was pushing things on people, then I understood that, and then I stopped doing that.
Okay.
Also because I saw that it was useless, completely useless. So.
No, absolutely. So at what point did you decide? So you had gone through all these things, and at what point did you say, okay, I'm ready to be a spiritual coach? So along your journey.
Actually, pretty recently, this year, 2023, I have so let's say that with me awakening, of course, I understood. So I wanted to understand what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I'm here for a reason. Okay, I have a mission, like all of us, right? I want to understand what. Of course, I kind of understood it because I kind of like I don't know, just intuitively knew. Like I love spirituality. I love to explain it. I love to speak about this stuff. It's like what I would do the whole day, right? That's what your heart wants. But of course, it was just the beginning, so I didn't really have a lot to explain. I told my own experiences. I have to go through my own challenges. I have to go through my own lessons. And so that was what 2022 was about. And I would say until lessons and challenges never end. But anyway, 2023 really ramped up, because basically in 2022 I catched up with all the things I needed to know, let's say, to align. It's kind of like it was a very huge research and understanding, and then 2023 was the actualization of all the things that I learned in 2022, meaning that I literally looked at myself, I looked at my life, and I saw everything that didn't serve me, and I removed and released every single one of them, one by one. And I'm talking about friendships, work, relationships, every single thing. I released everything. I changed house. I changed everything, because I understood all the things. Like, you know, I really asked to the universe for the best for me. Like I wanted the best possible thing I could have in everything. And so all the things that were not aligned to that just dropped off my life. Literally everything. So everything. And then in this journey, there is this deep healing that happens, because when you start to question about yourself, basically you see that you manifested those things for a reason, meaning that everything that is manifested in your reality, it comes from your consciousness. There is something that is manifested. So what is that? And so when things drop off, it's because you heal what manifested it. And so I started in this journey basically two things. So three things. Well, yeah. So I changed my 3D life, taking choices like, you know, okay, this person doesn't belong to my 3D life anymore. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. And then I started the healing journey. So it was about looking my own patterns, what was happening in my consciousness, what were the things that I needed to heal, what made me suffer, and what brought me into automatic patterns that bring those dynamics in relationships. I'm talking about family, friends, your partner, you know. And at the same time, I was trying to understand what was my mission. And so I was really drawn to channeling, because actually that was the first thing that reader told me in the first reading I told you about. Basically, she told me like, among the other things, like you are already open to channel. You can already channel information. And in that period, I was watching a lot of videos about channeling, a lot of channelers. I was retrieving information from them. And when I saw them doing it, I was like, this is so fascinating. I want to do it as well. This is amazing, you know? And that is when you understand that something for you. When you see somebody doing something and you love it, and you're like, oh, I really see myself doing that. That's for you, you know? And so I was looking at some other spiritual teachers, you know, some other channelers, and I was like, oh, I love that, you know, I would love to have that life to do those things. And when she told me, you can channel, you know, you already activated, because it has to be activated in order to channel, otherwise you don't receive anything. It was together with my awakening. It was, everything happened together. So psychic gifts, activation, whatever, Kundalini, everything together, really. It was a full activation. And so I started in all this period. So while I was clearing out my life of the stuff, while I was healing myself, I was learning channeling and understanding what I want to do with my life. So I practiced a lot since the end of 2022. I practiced on myself, of course, and on my family, and well, not family, on my ex-boyfriend at the time, and then the people that I started to meet in the spiritual community. I met amazing people because I went into this world of, you know, people that, you know, were aligned to me in that moment. And so I started channeling, and it was a very quick grasp, I would say. I learned very quickly, and I started doing it. I didn't, well, it was just for me to learn. And then in March this year, yes, with other two persons that I magically met, thanks to the universe, we founded together a community that you know very well. And that was an amazing school. So it's a group community where, you know, we host group sessions. And basically in the session, you just come there, you ask whatever you want. I channel it, you can receive energy healing. That was an amazing way for me to learn, because it was, you know, you have to do a lot of people quickly in a few time, you know, in front of people. So that really put the pressure on, meaning that you have to learn. There is no other way. That was a very quick school for me. Well, it really ramped up. And in all this process, by healing myself, by understanding who I was, by learning these things, and really everything just became clear. I just knew what I had to do. And so it came to a point in this summer when I was like, I already knew I wanted to leave my corporate job, because in all this I was working on a normal corporate job like everybody. And I've been, you know, I felt trapped. Like, it was like, oh my God, like I wanted to die. Not die, but
no,
it's just
I went through that, and people didn't. Oh, it's such a good job, and I stayed stuck for 9 years at a job that, and I was miserable every day. I was miserable. But go ahead, not to interrupt you.
So no, it's fine, because exactly. So I would say that the majority of people, that's what they're honestly going through right now. And so for me, it was 5 years. So 5 years in this corporate job. I changed 2 jobs in the middle. I must say that I was privileged, honestly, for the job that I had. Like, it was really something that everybody would say, why would you even leave that? You know, like at your age, you know, having that responsibility, that job, that, you know, salary, everything was amazing. Working from home always, really. But you're really not doing what you love. You're like, it was a struggle every single hour, right? So no. So I've asked to the universe, when I was shedding light on my things of the life, there was also the job. So I already knew I wanted to leave it, of course. And then I've asked the universe, when is the right time to leave it? I was waiting for a sign, and there was some moments in which I was ready to leave it before the time, and I was completely blocked. There was a huge intervention from the universe in blocking me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it wasn't time. And so then I said, okay, get it, you know, like, then let me know when it's the right time. And then the right time came. I didn't know how to do a lot of work before getting there on myself, because, you know, I had to become that person still. I didn't know who I had to become. Before you're there, you don't know who you're going to be. And so there were a lot of healing, a lot of a huge transformation process, because I wanted to get there. And after that, as I said, the vision became clearer and clearer and clearer. And then I just knew. And that was when I received the sign from the universe to leave it. I came back from my holidays on July, and it was like, that's it. I'm going to do it. And in the meantime, of course, I was building this community and my own business, of course. So it was all working in the parallel. It was just the right moment when it was right to leave it, because you know, it's all in divine timing. And then it just came, and And since then, basically, I'm not working anymore.
Yeah.
This is not work. It's just your mission, you know.
No,
And
absolutely.
so one of my purpose and missions is to help those to free themselves from the matrix job, because I know how painful that is. I know, like with my whole self. And when I was there, everyone was miserable. Everyone was miserable. And I was there saying like, okay, I'm here because I have my own objectives. Like I was saving money, learning business skills and stuff. But I knew I would have never been there forever, right? But all of people that were there, they just, like everyone, you just believe that that's your destiny. You're going to be there forever. And so I was telling all of them, but maybe, you can do something else, right? And they just looked at me like I was crazy, like, yeah. And then when I left, everybody asked me, so where are you going? What company? I was like, no, I'm not going to any company. I'm doing my own thing. And I was like, huh? What does it mean? What does it even mean? But I remember, and the first question they asked me, like, are you afraid? No, why would I? Like,
So you weren't afraid at all?
No, I was, of course, but I overcome that. I was afraid, but I really, it's kind of like, in your heart what you have to do. And I was but here's the thing, I couldn't do it until I reached a certain state of myself, of my transformation, or my development, that I knew with a certain, like 100% certainty that what I have to do. Because like when you are in this journey, you develop a personal relationship with the divine. Like you develop your own connection. Like you receive downloads, you receive information, you hear divine voice, right? You can say that. And so I was sure, like I was completely aligned, so I knew what I had to do. But you have to reach that state to do it. If you're afraid, if you're scared, it means that there is something else you need to do. But so I was there. I was scared. There was that was the fear-based mentality that you had to overcome. So it was one of the healing process that I went through. Once you heal that, you're not scared anymore, because you remove the fake belief that makes you scared. That's the whole point of the healing journey. It's about releasing the fake things that are in your consciousness. You release them. You leave them. You're not fearful anymore because they're not there. Yeah. And so when you get there, then you know who you are, what you have to do, and when to do it. That's the whole point of this journey. And then you will know, and everything aligns.
No, absolutely. Let me ask you before I forget too about because I see that that's a recurring theme, right? And it's almost sad to hear, but it's like just about everybody that has gone through some kind of huge awakening, eventually it seems like there's divorces or breakups from relationships. Why? Like for you, you said, was that the partner you had that you learned a lot from? That you said that you're thankful because you said that you were.
I'm thankful. I mean, of course, it was an amazing relationship. But no, I meant that I opened my eyes on the matrix because he made me see things that I didn't see before.
Okay, but then did your spiritual awakening have anything to do with you with your separate ways?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it just showed me things that were already there. I just didn't see them. That's the whole point of the awakening, right? So you just become conscious about something you were unconscious about. You just see things you didn't see before. Okay. And
no, because I've always wanted to ask, because I always forget to ask, like, what, because I see it's a recurring theme, right? So many people, even that, like people that get divorced, like, and you can tell it has something to do with the spiritual, but I never really asked. So I was just like, let me ask you, since you brought it up, let me ask you about, like, if it, like, were they supportive of it though? Like, did they believe you, or were they giving you, like, they didn't believe you? Did they think you were like, oh, you're crazy now or something like that? Or they were supportive, but there were other things?
Right. Yeah. So there were a lot of things, meaning that the relationship, I mean, okay, let's put it in this way.
I mean, you don't have to, it's feel free to whatever you want to share. So don't feel obligated.
So yes, the first thing was that when I went to my awakening, I was, literally was said that I was crazy and so on. So I wasn't believed. So I felt completely, not listened to, However, I must say that that guy was amazing, because even though he didn't understand me, or he supported me in my hardship and stuff, so I'm very grateful that he was there. Absolutely, I have nothing to say about that. However, it's crazy when you get to the point that you have to justify every single thing that you say because it's not understood on their side. It's draining, it's like tiring, it's kind of like, I have to do this because I have to explain it. Like there is just no understanding anymore. And then this person went through his own awakening 1 year after, and it just happens after. The thing that you just understand that that's not what you want. That it's just a normal process. As I said, you understand things that you didn't want to see before, but they were always there. And the awakening is just shedding light over things you don't want to see, and that's it. That's why these things happen, because you just say, you know what, I want the best for me. Is this the best? Maybe not. And you see that you didn't see before. And because I literally asked for, I want my highest possible timeline for everything. And so what happens is that things start to show you that they're not the best thing. So you have to, deal with it. And then, of course, things collapse because, you go through your awakening, you understand things, and you are not aligned anymore. That's just it. You're not aligned anymore. You don't understand each other anymore. And that happens with friends as well, with family as well. It's the same. It doesn't change anything. With a partner, of course, you have to eventually break up. With friends, you just stop talking, or you just drop them off your life.
Yeah.
And with family, normally we keep them, but you would do the same thing if you go. Let's be honest. So what happens normally in family is that you change dynamics, meaning that you disappear a bit from their life, but you can really,
the family is always a hard. I think with me, everyone, at least I had already a good reputation about being truthful. So people knew if I was going to say something, I wasn't just going to be making stuff up. So at least I think they respected that. They knew I wasn't the type that I'm over here lying about stuff. So they respected that. But still, yeah, some of the spiritual things, like they didn't understand it. So they just they didn't want to talk about it. I think more like they would just change the subject. Still really kind of, yeah. So it's I understand.
Exactly. But that's the thing also for me. Like I was always reliable. It's not like I was thought like I was a crazy person, and that's why it's weird that you've always believed me. Then why wouldn't you believe me in this, right? It's kind of like you always trusted me. You always believed in me. So why am I suddenly a crazy person? That's what happened. Like in their mind, and I'm talking about my parents, all the persons, that were close. In their mind, I changed. Like I became a crazy person, like somebody that, even though it wasn't until the day before, because of course they were not ready to see the things in my own way, in my way. And so I was the crazy one, right? It's like if you're not changing perspective, the other person is crazy. So yeah, that really didn't happen. Like I was considered the crazy person.
No, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit real quick, because I want to give you a chance to talk about like your business, for example. So, and obviously I'm sure it's personal, so you don't have to share any information that's gonna talk about anyone's personal stuff, but like how has it helped? Like what do people tell you when you help them with the spiritual coaching? Like what kind of things have they been able to, like what breakthroughs have they been able to have from the spiritual coaching?
So the thing that they say the most is like, you have articulated something that I always knew, but I could never tell myself. It's kind of like you have brought up something that I knew, that I understood, and now you show it to me like in a very clear and easy way so that I can understand it and deal with it. So that's the main thing. But mostly, so that's it. The work that I do, it has two main areas. So we have coaching, but also channeling. So in the coaching side, we talk about these things, about like how do you that are going through these things, how do you go through the 4D to get to the 5D? How do you go through the clouds? Like what happens in the middle, how do you deal with that process? So here is really about helping you transforming yourself, shedding lights, understanding your life, the things, healing yourself, because the healing part, it's like really the tough part, I would say, to get on the other side. This is really, I bring you to the other side, basically. Let's put it in that way, so that you can really be your authentic self and your full self, which can mean anything, which can mean if you have to leave your job, but you're not, you don't think you can, but it's about starting from where are you unhappy? That's where you start from, And then we look at the life, and we understand why are you, what are the things that made you create that reality? What are the things that you need to heal or understand about that? What are the lessons? It's all about really deep diving. What doesn't serve you? why, and then learning the tools, because what I do, I teach you how to hear yourself. I teach you how to understand things. It's not like you come to me, I give you the answer, or like, and then you're dependent on me. For me, the best thing is like it's teaching you the methods that you can apply every day, because it's not a process that ends in one day. It's just it's a daily practice. It's a process. It's a journey. It's not something that you do in one day. You have to learn certain things so that you can do them by yourself, building your own routine, your own spiritual practices that are aligned to you. This is the first part, so the coaching part, so the understanding, transformation. The second part is related to channeling, meaning that so in the channeling part, you can basically ask anything you want to know about your soul, who you are, your origins, what past lives you've lived. It's very useful to understand who you truly are, because this information explains who you are, because many things that happen in the early years are most probably coming from past lives, so karma. So there's some things that you don't understand why they happened, and normally they happen to close some kind of karmic cycle that happened in your past life. When you learn about these past lives, you really look back at your life and you say, oh, that's why that happened. Like, you understand everything that happened. Everything happened for a reason. So these kind of readings are really, the objective is to understand who you are, where you come from, and why things happen to you. What are the main lessons, that you learn? And also looking at your mission, the reason why you're having this life. What is your main purpose? Why did you choose this life? Because let's remember that we choose this life. Everything that happens to us is chosen by us. But we chose it for a reason. So you can deep dive basically of these things. We can open your Akashic records, seeing at anything you want to know about any past lives, off planet, on Earth, anything. We can see your first incarnation. So what is your blueprint? What is your soul? Because a soul is a blueprint, right? So it has its own specific skills and characteristics, and which is, are your talents, who you are in the end, right? You can see that, you can check that, and you can receive any message from your guides or your angels that you need to know, that are relevant for the time, anything. So this is the channeling part, which is what channeling is about in the end.
No, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you about the past life, so I'm glad you brought that up. See, because even that, I believe that, I'm not sure how it says it in the Bible, but I think, when I was growing up, since that was my first reference guide, it almost teaches you about that the past lives don't matter, right? Like, if this life, but see, now knowing everything I know, because even that's how at first I had been dreaming about past lives for a long time. And then finally there was a medium friend that helped me a lot. And, it was proven, like, she was 100% like the real deal, right? So she showed me, she helped me a lot when my brother passed away, and just the messages and everything, it was like 100%. So she told me, she was the first one that was like, oh, I see these past lives of you. And I was like, oh, okay, I already dreamed all that stuff that she's saying. So I knew it was, oh, okay, so that's what that was. These were past lives. And it was important to me, very important to me. Right. So that's why I know past lives, how you said. So you feel, because it's so different, right, from what we're taught, right? So now that past lives do matter. So you feel that we do have to clear up that karma. We do have to still, or like you said, every dream even has a meaning, right? Like, you keep like the recurring dream, right? Until, so for example, one thing, I don't know if I want to say it, but yeah, I'll just say it. So one thing, sometimes I see like things from my past life, like I have dreamt of like for example, women I don't know, that I don't know at all in this life, right? So what would be the lesson in that? Like, just from what you feel, what would you feel is the lesson in dreaming about people that, I guess, from another life? Why would they still be there? Like, why would I have dreams of them? Okay, so here is like when somebody comes to me and say, what does this dream mean? First of all, in the dreams have the function of, they have so many different reasons why we have them, but it's a very valuable space that once you know how to use it, it can be very resourceful, very useful. Sorry.
So we can receive messages directly from our guides in our dreams. You can dream about past lives. You can dream about lessons. You can have training in your dreams, meaning that they put you through some challenges so that you learn something, really anything. The point is that only the person that is dreaming knows that. And how can you know it? So when you dream somebody from other lives or somebody, a dear one or stuff, you are the only one that can understand why that happened. And the only way to do it is to observe the pattern, meaning that this happens more than once. Okay, how did I feel when that happened? You know, it's kind of like you discerning that. So when somebody asks me, like, can you interpret this dream? No, I cannot. Meaning that, yeah, I can check if there's something specific, but it's the person that needs to learn to understand if there is a specific lesson, a dream, a message, somebody coming to your dreams. Normally, you said why somebody from past lives would come. Well, because the soul connections that we have are forever. They don't just they don't die with this life. Actually, we incarnate always with the same persons. Like our soul family, it's like people, like it's like a group of soul that are like very close to their own origin, like they're super close, and they always incarnate together to help each other because the bond is so strong. And are those friendships that, you know, are like unexplainable, or those of course the bond, the love between these souls is so strong that of course they observe you from other dimensions, from other lives. They know you, that you're here. For example, the other person that you were with in that life, maybe they're not incarnated here, but they have this connection with you, so they're always there to help you, and sometimes come in dream to show them to you because they trigger something in you. So the reason can be infinite. Why would that person come? I've had people come in my dreams that I have no idea who they are, like no idea, but I know they had such love for me, and I just accepted that love, feeling like I know that they know me. I don't remember them, of course, because we come here, we lose our memories, but I know they're with me. And that's the same with the spirit guides. Like we don't know them, like we don't know who they are, we don't remember them, but there is a connection, there is this thing, and they are always there for us. We just don't remember them. And so when they come into dreams, it's to trigger us something. Normally, it's to show us something. And normally, everything happens for a reason. So it can happen that the dreams that you had for your whole life, maybe for 10 years, you didn't understand them. And then it comes a moment in which you put all the pieces together and you say, whoa, that's why all those things happen. So everything happens for a reason. It will come a time when you will understand it. So if something happens, you don't understand it, it's okay. Just drop it, let it go. And then in divine timing, at the right time, you will understand why that thing happened. It's always like that for everything. So maybe those dreams that happened when you were a child, when you even were, when you were awakening, they all had a reason. And in the end, what sticks in your mind is what you need to remember. So if something wasn't relevant, you just forget it. It's fine. But just know that what happens in the dreams, it's really, I would say that is kind of the work that the person has to do, meaning that you have to pay attention to what happens and how you feel, why, because by doing that, you're the only one that understands, because really nobody else can tell you.
But you just helped me so understand. So you did help me. See, so sometimes but instantly, like when you were saying it, I feel like that made sense to me. So, so yeah, see, sometimes maybe it does help bounce it off, and then you can hear, and that made sense to me. See, so it made sense for some reason. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, because I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to keep you forever, right? So, you have a lot of time, or
No, that's fine. We can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into so at this point, yeah, if anyone doesn't want to, like, hear about this subject, then you could kind of tune out. But I did want to talk to you about, like, for example, like how you said about the UFOs and all that. Were you shown like what star people you came from and this and that, or who? Because you even mentioned about your first incarnation. So have you been shown your first incarnation, and if you don't mind talking about that, and also like what, like, star people you came from and this and that?
Yeah, actually, that was very interesting. That was so I must say that I didn't have a lot of readings in my awakening. I must have a top 5 or 6. I must say, yeah. So not so many, but those were very accurate and very authentic. I can say that. And there was one reading specifically that was eye-opening. It was last year in No, it was 2023, and it was a full Akashic record reading about my soul origin, my first incarnations on where, and my blueprints. Everything resonated, and basically, yeah. So she said my first incarnations were on Mintaka, which is a water planet. It's we have Sirius. I don't know if you're. I mean, I'm not super honestly.
No, I know.
aligned with it. But I know that there are blue planets, and water planets. And so Mintaka is kind of like the mermaid, you have the mermaids population there. It's kind of like where mermaids come from. So, and then when she told me, I was like, I've been obsessed with mermaids my whole life, with mermaids,
wow.
ocean, the sea, dolphins, whales and stuff. And so the first thing she said, so you've been a dolphin a lot, then in the fairy realms, and then a mermaid. So that kind of like your origin, like what creates your kind of blueprint. And then from there, a lot of other things, of course. But that was the first big cycle of incarnation I did on that planet, which is one of the planets from where the ocean blueprint from Earth has been taken. So the dolphins, the whales, the sea, has been taken from those planets. And where the mermaid myths come from, right? And actually, the funny thing about the mermaid is that was mentioned in my very first reading from the other reader. The first thing she said, "I see you as a mermaid," and I was like, that was like my first reading ever, and I was like, "What? Like, how would you even know that I've been obsessed with mermaid my whole life?"
Oh wow.
So yeah, that was the main thing. But I know I've been a lot of other things. So I know I've been a Lyran. So the cat people.
Oh, you like cats?
Yeah, I mean, wherever I go, cats come to me like a magnet. Like I'm a cat magnet, really. And now I understand why, of course. Cats come from the Lyrans, so they're descendant of that. What was the other questions that you asked me?
Well, yeah, like the star people, but I think you're answering it both together, like the whole thing. So so your first incarnation, that's what you were shown then about like the mermaids. That was.
Yeah, like the first incarnation as a humanoid. Of course, first I've been. She said I've been, all the animals and plants. Like I've been a lot of things before getting human. And then as human, it was there first. And she said this is like it's kind of like Mintaka is a paradise. It's kind of like there doesn't exist any war, doesn't exist any hardship. It doesn't exist any. Everybody lives in peace and in harmony and in love. It's kind of like a paradise. And so that's what you have in your heart. It's kind of like the blueprint that you bring here. It's kind of is what you want to create on earth, right? And that's why I've always had this thing about I don't want to settle for anything. I don't want to feel bad. Like whenever I feel bad or I don't feel like aligned, I want to fix it. I want to get to my highest possible timeline, let's say. So that comes together with my mission because my imprinting, let's say, comes from there where it's normal to live like that. That's what's normal for me. And so that's what I bring here to live that kind of life, which is your everything that you want basically on earth, because I know it's possible, and to bring people there. So I'm kind of like a bridge. That's what she told me actually. So kind of like you're creating this 5D timeline together with others that do this, so that you can bring people there by showing that it's possible. When you embody something and you show that it's possible, people will understand that it's possible. They can do it as well. Because if you have no model, if you never knew it was possible to do that, how would you think it's possible to do it yourself? That's the whole point. And so our soul blueprint, understanding where you come from, tells you a lot about your mission because it says who you are, right? And that's what I meant about reading in your Akashic records, your soul origin, your blueprint, your mission. It all come together. Like everything makes sense. Everything is aligned. There is nothing random that is just there randomly. No, you have that mission because of specifically who you are, and who you are comes from your first experiences that forged who you are, right? Then I know that I've been on Earth since the very beginning, like when Earth was created with it was Project Earth and stuff. I've been there since day one. Like I've done on Earth a full incarnation cycle. I've been here since always. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, why do you all of a sudden?
Because I was about to say, I actually lived more human life Earth than most of human souls,
Oh.
So in a way, I am actually human, like because I was here even before that humans were created, something like that.
No, I get that. So I get that 100%. You know, it's funny that you talked about how the imprint that was left on you, because I got to see that as a little kid. So that was imprinted on me even from this life, that it was possible, because where my mom was from, it was a town where it was like a paradise. Like everybody knew each other. They lived off the land. Um, there was no police, so no need for police. Like, so where people talk, like here in the religious people will be like, oh, when you die and go to heaven, don't you want this? And I was like, I already saw that. Like that exists here. Like that exists here. So I know we can create that here. So why do we gotta wait to get to heaven? Like that didn't even make sense to me. So as a kid, and I would always tell my dad, like, oh, why did you bring us to the US, like from Mexico? And he would get mad, like, oh, I wouldn't have brought you, like, because to me it was like here, I grew up around gangs and violence, and there was all this stuff, it's like survival school, right? Like you have to learn, how to survive. And then over there it was all peaceful. It didn't, as a kid, you don't get it, right? Like you don't get like the journey they make to try to like, better, I guess. But it's probably more economical, right? Like to better themselves economically and this and that and all that. But yeah, I had already seen like almost what someone would think heaven on earth would be, right? Everyone gets along, no need for police, no nothing, like nothing crazy. Like it was just beautiful, right? And living with the land and the animals and all that stuff. So that was even imprinted. And now, it makes sense to me, because I always wanted to kind of push that, because I already seen it. So I know it's possible. It doesn't sound like the religious people couldn't convince me, oh, you have to, accept this and do this our way, or you're not going to get to see that. It was, and then later I read too once about this native man that they were like, oh, when you die, don't you want to go to heaven? And he said the same thing. He's like, oh, you just described my backyard. Like there's a beautiful river and the mountains, and what are you talking about? Like before you came and started doing all your, killing everyone and doing this and that, like that was already, and it was still his backyard, and he was like, so it was beautiful to even read that. Okay, so let me see what else.
Wait a second, I want to say something about this imprinting stuff. That's amazing, because we all get a different kind of imprinting. For me, you know what, it was books and movies. So for me, I dreamt through those. So for example, I loved watching movies, and I read so much, because that kept my fantasy, my dreams, alive. And this is, by the way, what books and movies are for. They need to unlock you something new. When you watch movies like Avatar, right? Who doesn't love it? Like, it's fantasy, right? But it does speak to your heart, because it's telling you something that your soul knows. It unlocks something. It unlocks a truth. That's the reason of movies. And that's why we love watching them, because we're like, oh, I don't know this life, that I prefer that one. And that's what your mind does. But actually what it should tell you is that is real. Actually, it's possible to create. And so for me, that was it. It was really connect to those art creative masterpieces. And that was spoke to my heart. And was like, that's it, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want, not this normal. Yeah.
No. And it's funny, I don't want to like change the mood, but I guess it's honest, right? Like, so for example, see, when I saw Avatar, it triggered me in a more like, I wanted to like break out in tears, because see, and then later, yeah, also a lot of my past lives were native, right? So a lot of people that don't realize the Avatar, all they're taking is the story of the native people here, like how it happened, the colonization, the way they're attacking the planet, we want to steal the resources. That's what had happened here. So for me, even just sitting in the theater, I'm there with my family, like I think like my nephew, because he wanted to see it, this and that, and the tears just wanted to, because I had this like rage, because it was already in there, because I've lived through those things. I've lived through those battles and everything. So I like, I was like, oh, like it made me like furious at that, because see, so to me, it wasn't just a movie. I was like, oh, this is real. They made it into fantasy to, oh, this story of, but that's really what has happened even on this planet, right? Like it still happens, right? Over there to the Amazon where they're going and you know, always trying to take more resources. In Africa, they do it. They did it here. You know, it just never ends. So to me, that movie, like, yeah, it wasn't a fantasy. But I think, yeah, now that you say it, see, I think it was meant to trigger like that. Of
They are made to trigger us. It triggers something different in everyone, any one of us.
Yeah.
For me, it triggered. For me, it's about, you know, everything that it's fantasy. For me, it's kind of like I watch it in awe, because that's where I belong. That's where I'm happy. Like, this is kind of like this dense planet, like this Earth, you know, where there is no magic. There is, but we live in a life without magic. But I know that magic is possible, and that's what I've always looked for. So fantasy for me brings me back to magic, which is what makes my heart sing. But if you look at, for example, Avatar 2, the hunt of the whale, I could not even watch that scene for how painful that was. Like, that for me, like killing the sea, the oceans, that is like the most painful thing for me. I cannot even watch it. It happened the same when I watched Seaspiracy, the documentary. I cried for days. I don't know if you watch it.
Which one?
Seaspiracy. It's a documentary about the
Oh, okay, I haven't seen it.
The impact of fishing, the impact on the sea, on the animals, on the intensive fishing. I cried for days after that. Really triggered that part of me that was suffering from everything that is happening to Mother Earth. And without these movies, without these things, we wouldn't be triggered. So those are made to awaken the collective consciousness, to bring out these things and to watch it, to look at it from, you know, within, to see what triggers us. It's kind of like, I remember when I told you the other day we were talking, and I told you, you know, everything that triggers you, even if it's somebody else, it's not the person, it's you, because that thing was already in you, right? And you've just been triggered. So
I remember. I don't know. Okay, but go ahead.
So everybody that triggers you, it's actually making you a favor, because it's showing you something within you that it's not alignment to truth. That's the whole thing that triggers are. So when somebody comes to you and, you know, you get annoyed by that person, okay, I understand it's annoying, it's a trigger, okay, but know what it is. It's not the person, it's you that have that thing within you, that it's being shown to you. That's the whole point of triggers. This is what these movies do to our consciousness.
No, that makes sense. 100%. That made sense. That made more sense. Maybe this time it made more sense, because of course when you hear it, sometimes you're like, but yeah, regardless, yeah, in a way, because I got the lesson. Yeah, I don't even want, because I feel like that's already like done. Like, I think I'm good now putting it in the past or whatever. So, did I don't even think I shared the whole thing with the dolphins, right? I didn't, right, in the group or anything. I didn't share my experience with dolphins, right? Oh, okay.
Actually.
Okay, I don't know if I want to share it or I don't know. We could end this and then I could share it, or because I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. But is there anything else you want to oh, you said you have a YouTube channel, you have an Instagram, but you're barely starting it, right? So you're gonna.
No, I'm just starting. So yeah, my website, I do sessions, that's up and running, absolutely. However, my next step is to be active on social media, so to really share my view on spirituality. So via YouTube. So YouTube is going to be my main platform, because for me, finding things on YouTube was crucial. Like, without that, I wouldn't be here. Like, so for me, because I want this information to be accessible to everyone. Accessible.
Yeah, no, that's all. Yeah.
To everyone, because free information now, we need it. Like, because there's so much stuff, and so my point was, like, all the work that I've done, all the research that I've done, I came up to my own truth, to my own view, and I want to share it to make sure that things are explained in a very easy way, because I had to swim through a lot of shit, a lot of things, to understand how to do something that it's actually easy, right? Like healing yourself, all this stuff that you think, like, oh, because you hear that teacher, then you hear that, and it seems something super complex, and you try this method, you try that method, you try that and that, and you're like, I cannot. And then you put all the things together and you find your own way, which is actually easy, and like, why nobody explained it to me in a super easy way? So my point is about explaining in a very easy way things that people think it's complex, which is the reason why sometimes they're prevented by looking at that information, because they think it's super complex. There's so much information about that that I don't know where to start from. No, okay. So my YouTube channel focuses about explaining spirituality from A to Z, all the things that I've learned, all the things that I will be learning because I will continue doing. We always grow, we always learn, we always go through challenges and lessons, so we learn new things. So just share these things so that everybody really can if they resonate with me, that's totally fine. If not, it's not for you. So for those that want to really understand spirituality in the best possible easy way, that's my purpose. And by understanding spirituality, you understand how this reality works. And by understanding how this reality works, you know how to shift it. And as I was saying, how to go through this transformation journey, which is basically just your mind creating something different from what you've created until yesterday. So that if you create something different, you can have a different life. And that's the healing process I was talking about. Instagram and YouTube, mainly YouTube, I would say, as that's the main thing. But then I always do coaching sessions and readings for anybody that wants to deep dive everything, and that's already up and running on my website. I believe you will link everything in the description. So yeah, and then of course we have our Cosmic Awakening community, which is a community of. It's very interesting because we have a group, so we do only group sessions, meaning that every time we have, for now the community is like it's like grown, like we're 47, over 47. Of course, in the course, we always have around from 10 to 15 to 18 to 20 people, I would say maximum. And so the purpose is that we are three of us doing different things. So I do what I do in my own sessions. Then we have other two persons that do their own thing, Reiki and energy healing. In the group sessions, people that want to receive healing or coaching or anything, they raise their hands, they're called, and basically they have their own 10 minutes, 15 minutes, according to how many people we have. And it's very interesting because other people in the group channel things for them, or they can heal them. So it's really a connection of everybody that's it's there in the course. It's very interesting. It's very fun. And then you also learn from others because you see, what others are going through. It's a community, so it's very nice.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the space anyway on this.
No, absolutely, it was my honor. So I think because I interacted with you, and see, even from the beginning, right, I always wanted to start this channel and be able to bring on people that I know, like, that I kind of already experienced, that I know, like, have gifts. Because sometimes, when I bring people, I bring them on, I let them, I created the space for them to be able to share. But there's some people that, I don't know if they're, their backstory or nothing like that, right? So I have no experience. It's just like, hey, like it's up to them. Because I know now they say like how there's a lot of people too that falsely, are using the spiritual thing and this and that. Like, it's just a way that they, but to me, it doesn't, I never even think about that. To me, I always feel like everyone's just saying the truth. I just believe that. But I've experienced things where I'm like, oh man, very disappointing because I would think that someone doing a spiritual walk is going to have like that integrity, right? So now that after you experience it, it kind of changes things and you're like, wow, like I didn't want to believe that, or, I don't know, like something like, right. Like, yeah. I thought everybody would have but it's fine, whatever.
No, totally understand. I also saw that once you enter in the spiritual world, everybody is aligned, is truthful. And I found people in the spiritual world that were supposed to be my teachers, actually, like people, that were showing the same patterns of people completely asleep. And I was like, really? I thought that these things were not existing anymore in this world, where people is actually, I'm talking about people like really being, I don't say mean to you, but kind of bullying you, in the spiritual world. Like somebody that should help you, but actually, because feels threatened by you or kind of jealous, they actually put you in a bad light in front of others. It has happened. It's a true story, but actually very recent. I'm not going to do names or where I was and stuff, but it has happened in a very spiritual context. And I was shocked by seeing that there's still people that, are still bringing these old patterns and they're just not aware. Just because you're spiritual doesn't mean that you are actually.
No, I got you. Yeah. And I get it, because we're all still in these human bodies, so we're all still susceptible to, get back to the lower energies. But still, like there's things that I've seen that are that are really not excusable. I could say, I was part of the contract or this and that, but it doesn't matter. It's just so like, it's so like, there's just some things that are so bad. It's like, okay, fine. Who knows? Maybe it was in the contract or something, but geez, like, I'm just gonna stay. I want to stay away from you now, or stuff like that. That kind of stuff. So,
but that is in the contract, meaning that it was for you to see something actually. So probably to learn the lesson, really, because no, really, I've learned so much by this experience that just happened to me, and I learned how not to be a spiritual leader by seeing somebody that was supposed to be a spiritual leader, but actually not at all being that. So, these are negative models that we also need. We need positive and negative, because then we know what not to do before we step into that mistake. So it's all part of the learning process.
see, it's interesting that you said, because see, that reminds me of one of the things that was kind of mapped out for me in this life was I experienced a lot of things in the human life that helped me with the spiritual life, or to be able to explain it so others can understand. Because what you said, like, see, I learned that. I remember they taught us that, like, when I went to the military, right? Like, they taught us that, right? Like, they said, look at, just because someone's, higher ranked than you doesn't mean they're right. Like, but, you're supposed to obey orders, right? Like, you're supposed to, so just look at them and know, like, hey, that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be that person, right? So learn from that. So basically, like the same how you said. So when you would see someone that, like, wow, you're horrible. Like, I never want to be like you. So that's what they taught us, right? like to be like, okay,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's not the kind of leader I want to be. That's not the kind of, person I want to be. So
Exactly.
they
It's
taught
so
us that from
valuable.
yeah.
It's valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
So
yeah, we learned from the 3D experiences as well. Actually, I mean, until awakening, was what, yesterday. So until then, it was the 3D experiences that teach us. So yeah, actually, I want to say that I learned even more from observing others and from negative models than on my own experience, and that's a blessing. Meaning that if you're able to see something that you don't want in others, you don't have to go through that. You learn the lesson, watching and say, okay, I don't want that. And many things I've learned that. That's what actually made me avoid a lot of things, speed up my process, because I didn't go through a lot of things that I observed in others and I didn't want.
no, it's funny because see, that's what I was trying to teach through songs. I didn't want, even since I was young. It's funny that when I was still a teenager, one of my first songs I wrote, it was called Adolescence. So I was still technically like a kid, but I was already trying to talk to the younger kids, like trying to tell them, you don't need to go through all this, like learn from my mistakes, right? So I definitely can relate to that. So absolutely.
Yeah. But then, if somebody tells you, you don't follow the advice. Normally, it's you that you have to realize that, oh wait, I can learn something from that.
No, absolutely.
It's you. But if somebody tells you, look, I don't do this that I did. No, it will not be the same for me.
No, absolutely.
It's just
Yeah. That's what, no, because see, I wrote songs, all these things, like I've written songs about all that. So like I have a song that I wrote once called "The Hard-Headed Never Learn." So it was like about that, right? Like being hard-headed, like no, and until it happens to you, then you learn, right? Like stuff like that. So that's funny. So yeah, on that note, is there anything else you want to share before we go, or?
I just want to say maybe that if you've chosen to awaken, transform your life, transform yourself, go into the healing journey, really good job, because this is the hard path that many don't want to go through. So if you chose that, really see that for yourself and be proud of yourself. This is what I want to say, because really it is hard, and I know, and but it's something that we can all do and we can all go through. And now we have all the information and the help that before wasn't there. So now it's the time. And really congratulations for those that took this path, because it's the hardest one, but the most beautiful, most rewarding one.
Absolutely. Oh, well, then since you brought that up, so what do you see like for the future? Have they given you any channeling, like in the direction things are going? Like, is there gonna be, like how they say, like the world is splitting? Because I've had a lot of dreams where I think I shared it before already, so I don't mind talking about it. That it's like, not that I was the leader, but for some reason I was in the front, right? I was like guiding, let's say guiding, right? I was guiding people, and it almost seemed like a new earth, right? It seemed like a new, and it was beautiful. Like, you can't describe it. There were even animals that, it's funny because they don't exist here, but when I looked it up, there were stories. Like, one was a wolf with antlers. And then I found that there was an old native story about a wolf with antlers. So whether it's in this reality or in another dimension or whatever, so it was like just beautiful, right? The most green, and you can't even describe it with words, the most green, and the water, like, just amazing. So do you feel, or have they showed you that it's like things are splitting up, or we're gonna change things here, or it's gonna be like here but another dimension? Like, how do you feel, or have they given you any, maybe like a message of hope for people or stuff like that?
So here's the thing. I don't believe we're not even going to notice. We're not even going to notice these things. We will not change anything. In our lifetime, I don't think we will change. What we will change, it will be our own life, meaning that the 5D and the 3D split. It will happen physically eventually, yes. But I believe, and this is just my believing, I didn't channel that, by the way, because these things are so complex, and there's so many things, that some things that we also not meant to know, right? But so I believe there will be an actual split in physicality of the two earths later on. But I think that we are not going to see it in our life. It's going to be like 200, at least 200 years, meaning that in this moment where we are now, we are burning the old earth by upgrading ourselves. Those that will choose to upgrade will shift their reality, their life, and they will create a different life on earth, like on this earth. We are still physical on the same earth, like me and my parents. So those that will remain in 3D, they will remain on the same earth. We will just never interact with each other anymore. We will just not be aware of each other anymore. All those people that, for example, were in school with you, that have nothing to do with you anymore, you will not even remember that they existed, something like that. So in these years, in our lifetime, this is what I believe. I might be wrong, maybe in 1 year I will channel something different, I don't know. But right now, what I believe is that in our lifetime, we will not see any split physically. We will see major changes, major collapse, and we will create the new systems with our work. It's not going to rain from the clouds. We are actually going to make it, like, to build it with new entrepreneurs, with new businesses, with new. Everything will be new. Everything, meaning the same people that were doing something before will change and we'll start doing the other thing. It's like me. I was part of the matrix. I was part of the system. I was working that. Now I shifted, and now I am creating that earth, which is helping those to transcend from the 3D to the 5D, literally. But some people, a lot of people that, for example, learn in the 3D, in the music, the movie makings, producers, and this stuff. So they're going to make those things in the 5D. So new concept, new things, right? Those that created energy, they're going to find new solutions. So everything is going to be transformed by people that transform themselves, and therefore create new systems and new solutions for the 5D. It's still going to be the same world, just new systems, new things, and the old shit just dropping off, like destroying itself, like collapsing. It's kind of like, imagine a moment in which everyone understands that the matrix, it's a fake system that keeps you chained as a slave. Imagine the moment that everybody understands. What happens? People drop that off in mass. What happens is that big corporations will not have any employees anymore from one day to another. I believe it's going to happen gradually, but then it will be accelerating until those corporations will just fail, because on the other side there are no consumers anymore, because they have awakened to the fact that those corporations are evil. There will be no people that want to work for them anymore. They will just collapse. On the other side, in the meantime, these people that have gone through the transformation will create new systems, will create new things, and each one of us has a specific role in creating this new earth, and everything will happen in the perfect way, so that the people will awaken in the perfect way, so that they will start create what they're meant to create in the perfect moment. So now a lot of teachers are awakening, because we need to bring a lot of people into the transformation. Those people that will transform from the matrix will come from the matrix. They were there because maybe they're engineers, they're genius that will need to create a new system. So when they awaken, they will not become spiritual teachers. I mean, that was, our role was to bring those people to create what the actual earth is going to be. So this is how we are creating it, by people transforming themselves and know what they have to do, align to their mission, and just create the systems they came here to create. I know that there's people, like I've met people in my life that they're actual geniuses. Like, I'm talking about technology geniuses. Like, I know that these people will create something in the future when the time comes. So they came here because they're super smart ETs, for example, incarnated to create that specific system. It's true. Like, I don't know if you can talk about, for example, Elon Musk. I mean, obviously, it's like an ET that's creating something new for us, right? So when this will happen in mass, it will be always faster and faster and faster. That is when we will see the actual shift. We will see the majority of people has chosen something else. It will happen. And at that point, basically, we are creating a different timeline that didn't exist before. And that's why we're talking about the split, because it's just a new timeline that it didn't exist before. But with this Starseed program, it has been created out of something that was going to another direction. So yeah, there are two, but just because they coexist at the same time, but we are on the other one now. The other one doesn't exist really anymore. It's just in the quantum, let's say. It used to exist before, now it's in the quantum, but now we are on the other one. And then I believe that actually we are already on the ascension time, and we are already on the new earth. We just have to create it, and that's going to be our work from our sweat. I say, like the hard work. Like, we are actually going to create it. It's not like happening from the clouds. I believe that we will receive a lot of help from the ETs. I mean, that they will give us knowledge, technology, there will be new technologies that will be able to clean our waters, like the oceans, the pollution very quickly. But this will be the new systems that will be implemented by these new people that are going to awaken and go step into the mission in doing what they have to do. I'm super excited to see this, by the way. I know we are going to see it in our lifetime. I know. I don't know what's going to happen to the 3D, to people that would choose not to awaken, because yes, there will be people that will choose not to awaken to this. I don't know. I don't think we are meant to know exactly, because I know that the majority eventually will awaken. Maybe when they're 50, okay? Maybe now they're 30 and they will awaken in 20 years, okay? But it will happen. Because they will find themselves into a whole new world.
Absolutely. That makes sense. And like as you're talking other things, well, let me say this then, because I don't want to keep stretching it out. So, like, how do you feel? Because see, like, when I see like things like war and all that thing, like, to me automatically it's like stupid, right? Like, I look at them like how do we not at this point in human civilization, and with being able to talk to, like you, for me right now, you're like on the other side of the planet almost, right? Like, kind of, right? I think maybe you are, right? So
Yeah.
we're able to connect like this and all this and that, right? And so how do people how are we still at this level to allow? Because that's how it is. Whatever rich people or whatever, they send all the people that they consider to be poor or whatever, convince us or brainwash us to us go and die and fight in these wars and this and that, and it's always because they want something, right? Or sometimes just the ego, they're mad. Like I remember with the whole like Iraq war, how the president at the time, Bush, like he said, no matter what, he just wanted to get Saddam Hussein because he had tried to kill his dad once. So they were like, oh, there were weapons of mass destruction. There were this, like he said that, like, from his own. So imagine that someone could start a whole war and everyone's kids die, your brother dies, your sister dies, everybody is dying because someone was just mad. So how are we still at that point? And are people just, to me, that would be an awakening where it's like, wow, will people finally just be like, hey, you know what? Like, screw you, like you go, like you go fight or something, like, so it's still amazing that, and that's why I feel the AI, right? Like the AI, it's almost like we're racing against, because they want to keep control one way or another, right? Like, because I've dreamed that. I've had this dream. There were like these things. I thought they were like beings from another world, but they look like hybrid. So one day, after like maybe over a year after I had this dream, my nephew showed me, oh, look at this robot and all the things it does. It was doing flips and running, and I was like, wow, that looks like the thing from my dream. So I even thought that when people finally want to uprise, are they then going to try to bring like, oh, like, you know, they're going to still fight for that control, right? One way or another. So if, so I don't know. I don't know if that's making any sense, but yeah.
I understand what you mean. So the reason why things are still like that, it's because first of all, in general, the 3D, the material world, it takes a lot of time to align to the actual vibration of the earth. So it takes time. So that's normal. Like it's like when you raise your vibration, you change your life. It's not like it happens instantly. Things need to collapse from your life. You need to, work through shit. You need to, it takes a lot of time to manifest what you wanted to. Having said that, think about doing it in the collective for 9 billion people. So it's like it takes a lot of time. It's a chaos. It's crazy. So this is what we're seeing. We're just seeing the collapse of the old, and the reason why it's not stopping is because people need to see that. So people need to see that it will never stop until people will see that. So the manipulation, the bullshit, the lies, they will continue. And here's the thing: they will become more obvious and more obvious and more ridiculous and more ridiculous, because the objective in the end, like they're more desperate. So from their point of view, they're so desperate that they don't know what to do anymore, right? So they just, I don't know, there are a lot of lies and a lot of crazy things. And I like now I laugh, like I literally laugh, and I'm like, how can people still believe that, right? But on the other side, people start like, it's kind of like they're so desperate that because it's not working anymore. It's kind of like trying to keep something that wants to get away. It's not their time anymore. It's finished. It's over. And what we're just saying is just the tail, getting into the water after. I don't know what to say it, but it's kind of the final thing. And the only purpose is to become even bigger and bigger, even though it has no force anymore, but just to awaken the people that really need to see that. Because in the end, it's a collective lesson. We, as a collective, need to see the truth. As a collective, we need to say, you are saying the truth, you are lying. I need to awaken. So until the majority of people doesn't see that, it will continue. So yes, a lot of people are awakening, a lot of people are raising the vibration. We say, how can they still say those things and get away with that, right? Like, how is that even possible? But it's still happening because it has not shifted yet into the majority. So it will happen. It just takes time. So we just have to be patient with the events of the world. It's just let's remember that Earth itself has its own contracts. The civilization, we are all part of. We have our single individual contracts, but there are also Earth contracts that we need to respect. So there are some things we need to go through as a collective. They have to happen, even though they're not pretty, but they need to happen so that people wake up. That's the only way. COVID. What was COVID? That was it. It was done for some reasons, for some. Well, okay.
You can say whatever you want. Say it, and if it's something, I'll bleep it out. But so feel free, say whatever you want. Yeah.
But what it was at a collective level was a way to wake up people. That was it. It was done by some people that don't have their best interest at heart. But in the end, it awakened a lot of people. So these things have to happen. They are in our contract, in our collective contract, and we have to let them happen and just wait. What we can do is to take care of our lives. So what we can do is to take care of what we're responsible for, which is changing our life, bettering our life, becoming who we are meant to do, to become. Because when you do that, you bring that vibration to Earth, and a lot of people are more able to do that. So by changing yourself, you really change the world. It's really, that's all it takes. It's just about looking about yourself, your life, doing the work, really changing, transforming your life, and then all the people around you, all the people you interact will get something from you, and they will understand. And this is how you shift the collective. So I wouldn't focus on the global events anymore because there's no point. It's just something that needs to happen. Just focus on yourself. I'm talking about everybody, of course. Focus on yourself. What doesn't work in your life? What works? What do you want in your life? Just focus on that. Do work through that. The rest, it's not up to you.
I mean, but like, I think it's just in the human nature. People are gonna want to help, like when you see, obviously things happening. So, but absolutely, thank you so much. That was beautifully put. So I think on that note, we'll end it right there, unless there's any last thing that you want to say. But I think, go ahead.
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll end it there. Thank you so much. And just wait. I wanted to tell you something, my dolphin story. I didn't want to share it here, so I'll just tell you real quick my dolphin story after. So thank you so much to everybody that joined us. I'll put all the links for Federica in the description, so you could connect with her on YouTube and her spiritual coaching business, basically.
So much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Okay.
Life may move fast, or it may move slow. I met a silly man who said he'd make it snow. We look up out towards space, or even at the sky. One that gets away, but never look inside. Breathe in, breathe out. Life is amazing, but we'll figure this out. I mean, human beings, I ain't got no doubt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I want to feel this way forever.